Hi, I'm Dr. Ryan Pratt, owner of 603 Chiropractic, and I believe that you are designed to be healthy. In fact, health is normal, sickness is abnormal. Health is defined as optimal function, and function is regulated by your brain and spinal cord. Your spine is like your suit of armor for your spinal cord, and when it's not healthy, this can produce pain and various other symptoms. As a chiropractor, I have helped thousands of people go from unhealthy to healthy and pain-free by simply improving the health of their spine. If you're living with chronic pain, or if you feel like you're dragging yourself across the finish line every day, set up a consultation to learn more about how we can help. You can book online at 603chiros.com or call 603-935-5478 and set up your consultation today. Don't put your health on hold. It's your greatest asset. Visit 603chiros.com today.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on 1590 AM, 95.3 FM on WSMN. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, as well as kind of Facebook Live. We're up on Robyn's personal page because Facebook is saying we don't have a presence on Facebook anymore. I don't know what happened in the last 8 months. And so we'll see. I'm in the studio with Robyn, but she can't hear us.
I have no sound. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, I have no. Oh, hey, I'm here. It's been that kind of morning.
Welcome.
You can turn it down just a hair.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't want to hear myself that loud in my ears. Woo. Lord have mercy. It's hot.
Yeah, we finally have heat back in the studio. We were heatless for a couple of weeks.
Yes, body temperature is rising. Actually, George has done a really good job about keeping it warm in here.
And then we had the blankets.
Yes, and my blanket's in the car, and I forgot it, but
we're good so far. How are you doing?
I'm good. I actually was really good this morning, but thank you.
Hand-delivered coffee.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, tips outside.
We have the best producer and owner of our show. He spoils us. How are you this morning, Miss Lisa?
I am doing fantastic.
I had to make sure I got everything. Yeah, I was thinking about our topic this morning on the way here, and I'm like, you know what? I really need to keep all my notes in one place because now I've got our notebook for the radio that you've given me.
And then another notebook.
Another notebook.
The phone.
Well, then I have another notebook that I keep upstairs by my makeup table. And then I have on my phone, I keep scrolling through and I'm like, it's so discombobulated to have everything here, there, and everywhere because I am a writer. Like if I have to write it down to remember it. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. I want to remember that.
I am. I'm the same way as well. I'm a writer. I physically, tangibly putting pen to paper.
Yes.
That's kind of where when I type it into the phone, it might as well go right out my brain. I have no memory of when I look at my notes, I'm like, what was I even saying?
Well, that's
my phone.
Well, Chris called me on the way here this morning and he's like, hey, you were sitting on the toilet last night and you were talking about this and I said this. And I was like, wait, what was it in reference to?
I can't be held responsible for what I was saying on the toilet.
But who has a conversation like that? Like he's brushing his teeth. And so he was like, he knows to give me prompts to because if I remember where I am and what I was doing, then I can help me remember. But we're watching this cute show called Love on Netflix. And it's a super nerdy guy. And then there's a girl that she's a train wreck. You know, she's just whatever. And her life is kind of spiraling out of control. And, you know, she's making those choices. But they've come together. They're attracted to each other. And I just said to he looks kind of like a teenager or a 20-year-old. And they're sitting on the bed and they're like, well, what should we do today? And she's like, do you want to go get some food? And then like, well, do you want to just continue on? And they'll go to the movies. And they did these things. And I said to Chris, isn't he 31 in the show? And I'm like, it seems like they're doing stuff that's college age
Yes.
or just that very young.
Right.
Hey, what do you want to do? We don't have any plans in it. Because I like think of my life at 31. I had kids.
Right.
You know.
Responsibilities, houses,
My second
mortgages.
home. Yes. You know, it's just weird. You know, I've already been through, you know, bought and sold 2 houses, raising kids. And, you know, I can't see that at 21. I can't see that at 31. And
I know. And I think, remember that movie? I never saw it. So I apologize that I'm talking about a movie I didn't see. But the name of the movie was Failure to Launch. And it's like Matthew McConaughey living in his parents' house or something.
Yes.
And he dates a girl.
Yes.
Who I forget who that actress was. But that Failure to Launch and Step Brothers when
yes.
Richard Jenkins and Mary Steenburgen are getting all hot and heavy in the hotel and I like Pilates, I like to do whatever. I want to sail around the world. I love sailing. And they're bonding in the 2 seconds right before they're ripping their clothes off and then I have a 41-year-old son who lives at home and then he looks at her. And she's like, I shouldn't have said anything. And he's like, I have a 42-year-old son that lives at home. And then they start making out.
Yes.
And it's that failure to launch. Like, why are you failing to go out into the world? But it's actually, I just downloaded a book called The Anxious Generation.
Oh.
Talking about why are our children so anxious? Why is there so much anxiety and depression amongst our youth? Why is suicide doubling in that age bracket? So I will report back once I start reading that book. I'm actually going to listen to it on Audible, I think.
That's good. I like listening to it. And I'm listening to a really good book now called Good Vibes, Good Life. And now I'm getting into all the books that I listen to on audio. I can't do anything else. A lot of times I'd get them in the morning and I'll play a game while I have my coffee or I'll do something else or I'll do some
Unload the dishwasher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paint the kitchen, you know.
All that stuff in the morning that you're doing.
But I noticed that I have a hard time doing it while I'm driving because, like, on the way here, I'm making notes. And I'm like, wow, that looks like chicken scratch. Am I going to be able to read that
because you were
later?
driving. And
Yeah, I'm at a stoplight, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to put it in my phone. I'm going to put it in my book because I want to talk about that today. So,
but I can't reread it. I'm not going to read that either. There's a heart somewhere.
Yeah, well, I did do that for love, and I'm like, all right, I'll remember that for love. But
Perfect. That's like the stenographer in the courtroom, right?
Yes.
Okay, love.
yes, I could do that.
Happy.
That's my shorthand.
Yeah, that's your shorthand.
I failed typing.
I want to tell you that I'm almost probably never going to watch television again because the other day must have wiped the remote really hard or something. And then I only know how to use, we have 4 remotes. And that's way too many remotes for
yes,
televisions. We
yes.
have the magic remote that was supposed to do everything, the cable remote, the Fire Stick remote, and then the CD player remote, DVD player remote. And I can handle the Fire Stick and the DVD. When I start getting into the other remotes,
Yes.
now the sound bar's not on with the TV. Like I have all kinds of things going on. And John must have watched cable television using the cable remote to watch the weather and shut it off from that point. So when I'm trying to come on from the Fire Stick, it keeps bouncing to the cable. And so on the TV, it's cycling cable. Then it's cycling the Fire Stick homepage. Then it's cycling thing. And I just went like this. Not watching TV. I just shut it off.
Okay.
I am not troubleshooting the remotes. I will never watch television again.
And well, in reality is what's the worst that's going to happen? You're still not going to be able to watch TV. So like, I don't know why.
I don't know why we have so many remotes in 2024. Elon Musk is colonizing Mars.
Right.
Can AI make a remote that's just one remote? Just one remote. One remote.
Well, we do have one remote. Chris took the option away for voice upstairs. Or maybe we don't have it on upstairs. The voice remote. I'm not sure. We do have it down to one, but like if the kids leave it on Xbox, I don't know how to get it back to
television.
Is it HDMI 1, HDMI 2? Like where's the input button? Like cuz most of the time I'm never in charge of the remote. You know, that's the age old, and I don't really care.
John puts me in charge of the remote because he doesn't want to have to be responsible for muting the commercials or doing, because you know how sometimes the volume changes.
Oh,
so
yes.
he throws the remote to me and then just barks, You know, I don't want to hear this. And then it's my job to manage the remote. But I'm really way more interested in my cat.
Yes.
At that point, I'm like snuggling and loving. I don't want to manage the remote either. Neither one of us want to touch the remote.
I don't want to be responsible for the commercial breaks.
Yeah.
I don't. And I don't want to be responsible for the volume going up and down because it's kind of one of those things you really have to. We have surround sound, so we have a subwoofer down on the bottom of it.
And you can't hear the movie because everyone's whispering in the movies. And when they're talking about really important things, they talk like this. And then all of a sudden it's like, tide!
Right. And then it goes to a battle scene really quickly and it's like explosions all around you. And I mean, sometimes it's loud enough that it vibrates the whole couch. Because it goes underneath it. I mean, it's a great sound.
Yeah, but I find myself like leaning forward on the couch. Like, what are they saying? Why are they whispering? And why can't the editing department of the movie just boost the volume when they're whispering so that I know what's going on?
Right.
I don't want to have to turn on subtitles because I can't hear it. It's a movie.
Well, Chris said to me the other day, the reason why they do commercials so loud is because if you're sleeping, they wake you up. I was like, oh, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm like, yeah, I believe that.
Well, it should be wrong. It should be illegal. They make everything else illegal. You know, they have a law for everything. They should make that illegal. The commercial has to be the same volume as the program that's being streamed.
Yes, I agree.
They should be aligned with all the technology that we have.
I agree.
And
Hey, this morning, I had I was getting ready this morning and Chris pops into the bathroom and he's like, hey, what time are you on? And I was like, wait, what time am I on? Wait, what time
Should
is
I have
it?
already
Wait,
left?
did you just mess me up? And I'm like, wait. I'm like,
what day is it?
It is 10. It's 10. And I said, 10. And he said, because Uncle Murray wants to know what time you're going on. I was like, oh my God, he watches our show. And he's like, yeah, he's listened to every episode. So I wanted to shout out and say, good morning, Murray.
Good morning,
Thank
Uncle
you
Murray.
for watching, listening, or
We'll wave
however
to
you're
you.
streaming it. I hope you have a fantastic day. He's down in Virginia.
Yeah.
They have a beautiful property.
Thank you for joining us. That's fun.
Yes. So, yesterday I made a TikTok video of our workout.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
The workout dancing
I
or
didn't
actual
put it in
working
private, but I want to tweak it a little bit. I was trying to add some glitter, and I don't really want to change the song, but I would like to do some, transitions and.
Oh, so you took, while we were doing actually the weights and the assault bike, the dance.
No, our dance.
Okay, that's perfect. I almost posted our dance this morning.
You shut up.
My aunt and my sister-in-law had a birthday party at my house, and I told my husband that I wanted it to be a dance party. I wanted to bring up we have these giant JBL speakers that are really great speakers that are portable. We have them on stands in our basement so we can rock out and work out to really good music. But we brought those up and started playing music and had a dance party at the house. Well, now I've infused my 4 and 5-year-old nephews with dance party. When are we going to have a dance party? And they were at my Aunt Mary's last weekend, and they send us a little video. Are you going to come down and do a dance party? And I felt so bad because I had I had a celebration of life on Saturday. I couldn't go down. And I said to you, we should make a dance video for my nephews and say, hey, you want to come to our dance party? And we started dancing in my basement after a workout. And then we thought that should be our warm-up. A dance should be a warm-up.
Absolutely.
It gets the energy better.
Yes, it gets your energy going.
It moves all the blood around, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, now. Because it seems like starting on the row is a little boring, where if you're starting by dancing, it's so much more fun.
Well, it's kind of like you want to gently get into your workout and getting on the rower or like the bike. I was like, holy cow. I wasn't really holy cow, but I was like, I got to do 20 minutes hard like this? It's like being
No, it's being tortured.
dragged out of bed like boot camp. Like, go. And you're cycle. And I'm like, wow, it's only 20 seconds. It's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, I got 10 seconds left.
Why are these seconds so slow? They're worse than treadmill seconds.
I'm like, am I that out of shape? But I did.
No, so the assault bike is the one where you move your arms and your legs at the same time.
Yes.
And it is not the same as a Peloton. And it is meant to
Give you a heart attack.
to give you a heart attack, to give you a really good workout. But it's that high extreme because you're working everything at all times. But also, it's meant to burn all the
Toxins?
no, maybe, but almost like all the carbohydrates. But that's the wrong word.
Oh, like the bad sugar fat.
Yes, it's
stored,
supposed to the
whatever that.
glycogen, glucose. It's supposed to burn all something. And I apologize, I have advanced maternal age brain right at the moment, so I'm not able to go into my Rolodex of words and figure out the right word. It might be glucose or glycogen. I want to say the word glycogen.
So it burns
I don't
the
even know
sugar
this.
first.
Yes,
So.
and it's supposed to help accelerate that that process, so that you're really giving everything to your workout. You're kind of leaving it all on the table.
Nice.
And I remember talking to someone when I bought it at the store. I'm like, I'm going to buy this and do 20 minutes because I can't run with my foot. And they're like, you can't do 20 minutes on the assault bike. Just walk up. You're going to have to build up to that
Yeah,
over
there's
time.
a reason why it's called an assault bike.
And there's another reason why the intervals are 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
I did notice that, neither you or I went back to that in the rotation. I'm like, I'll do the rower again.
I'll do the treadmill. I'll just lift more weights.
I know. And I put my feet up on John's thing. What's the leg press?
Get the leg press.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're like, oh, just put it on the little bar. And I'm like, yeah, I don't trust that. I'm like, I'm too short for his. And I'm like, I'm not going to rearrange it.
So I'm too short too. But if I have to move the machine around a lot, I'll just go upstairs and have a snack.
Yeah.
It'll demotivate me. I have to keep moving in the workout or I won't
Yes.
work out.
Yes.
And for years, a long while, close to a decade, I ran as my workout. So you start moving and then you continually move until you don't move anymore. So this lift a weight here, go on this machine, there's all these pauses that seem like an invitation to stop working out.
Yes.
So there's a lot of mental energy to keep me moving in this circuit training. I'm like,
Yes.
Somehow it was just easier to run 10 miles than it is to circuit train.
See, I can't do the running. I
I
could
can't do
walk
running
forever.
anymore either.
It's just not one of the things. I can get on my elliptical and I could go 45 minutes on my elliptical. But I also like play a game or I'll do something to occupy because just standing there, if I don't have some kind of other stimulation, I won't stay on it. I just know me, especially if I'm working by myself.
Yeah.
And music is okay. Like if I'm walking or if I'm outside doing something, then music is good. Actually, I could probably row to music. Elliptical on the treadmill.
But one of the benefits of it is that repetitive motion is meditative if you're not distracting yourself. But you got to get into that zone. And the first 10 minutes is awful. So I think
that's true.
If we taught everyone that the first 10 minutes is so awful that you're going to want to quit, but if you get past that, then your breathing matches your exertion, which matches your body's movement.
And you get a rhythm.
And there's the rhythm. The same thing with rowing. There's that meditative state if you stay not trying to kill yourself working out, but you just find a rhythm that you could hold all day, even though you can't hold it all day. Once you find that rhythm, it becomes a meditative practice, moving meditation.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. When I'm on a stationary...
Said from the chair today,
Yes,
not
yes.
yesterday. I didn't say any of that yesterday to you. Just so you know.
I did buy crossover cords. They're coming tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got, I think it's 10, 20. It goes all the way up to 50. So I don't know if it starts at 20, 30, 40, and 50 resistance. So you can just change the bands on that. And then I think it's got little, leg cuffs. Looks like you're going to shackles.
Nice.
Yes. So I'm going to build it. I want to get I have an elliptical. I want to get a good rowing machine.
The place in Salem.
And then free weights at home.
It makes a huge difference to not have to leave your house to go do something. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It takes the barrier of today is raining. I don't want to get wet. I don't want to go out. The 15-minute drive there, the 15-minute drive home. I don't have enough time. It takes all those excuses out.
Yeah.
But I like the energy of Orange Theory. I like the energy of Humble Warrior Yoga. I love the
Yes.
community. So I still go to those places on occasion just to pump me up full of energy, to be part of a community.
Yeah. I'd like to have a designated place to do yoga. And I think that would be good. And I think you could get all our family members up there to do it, too. and I think they would like that.
And you could decorate it nicely. Like I keep saying, I'm going to decorate downstairs.
Do some candles and, I don't know if I want candles in there burning, but, just set an ambiance of flow and relaxation and, play the drumming, the shamanic drumming or
Chanting.
like a rhythm. Chant, yes.
I love the chants
I
with
do
the
too.
drum, with the chimes.
I've been playing around with some of the ones. I think you have to be careful on playlists at night because I've been listening to. I did a monk om chanting, like the om. But you start with a and then you're supposed to focus on it vibrating inside of your body. But so I was listening to those at night. It's supposed to be grounding too.
I love my om. There's one particular one. It's 432 hertz om chanting Tibetan bells.
Yes.
And at the end of every long om, which you don't think you could extend breathing out that long, but you can if you just calm down. It takes you a little bit.
Yes.
But then they ring the bell and they do the bong and then it goes to the next one. And the whole hour is so entrancing that it feels like it's like 15 minutes, but it's an hour.
Yeah. And then you just feel so energized afterwards. I feel like when you do a really good one yoga session, it feels like you've left it all on the mat. And I like that feeling. And you almost feel powerful. Do you feel that way afterwards? Like,
yes, I feel like I'm physically 100% inside my body, that I'm not in my head or above myself.
Yes.
Because sometimes I have that flightiness where my mind is doing a million things, but my body is doing something else and they're not really tethered together.
Yes.
And yoga, at the end of yoga, I feel like I inhabit my body from my toes all the way up.
Maybe that's the same thing. I feel like when I leave there, I feel like Hulk Hogan, in the boxing ring, and he goes, whoa, and brings it all together. That's how it does. I feel energized, grounded, and powerful.
I always joke that if I was a yoga instructor, everyone usually starts with child pose. And you start with child pose and you end with corpse. And so you can be born again. It's the phoenix rising.
Yep.
It's everything's a death and everything's a beginning. That's the whole point of it.
That's true.
And I always say that I would start with mountain pose.
Wait, what's mountain pose?
Just standing, your feet fully planted, and you're fully erect, and your palms are facing forward, your shoulders are back, just standing. And as solid as a mountain. And when you think of it that way, I feel mountain pose, which is just standing straight, is one of the most empowering poses. And no one ever starts yoga with it. And I feel like if I was a yoga teacher and all of a sudden I started a mountain, people would be like, I hate her. I want to start in child's. I want to start on the floor with my head down.
Right.
Why are we standing up?
So that's good. That reminded me of something that I read the other day about confidence and lacking confidence. And, it's using your body, breathing, your mindset to take yourself to another place about being, how do I say it? Not take it to another place. Power poses. And I learned that if you do the superhero pose, I think I told you that. When your head is up, you're standing, your feet are apart, and your hands are on your hips with your shoulders back and your chin up. 2 minutes a day there's 3 different power poses. That was the one that she talked about the most. 20% a day, it will increase your testosterone, which is your confidence hormone. It increases it by 20% naturally in your body. And I'm like, that's so cool that we can have that power to...
It's free.
Yeah. So meaning to
No side
transform
effects.
yourself to another place. You can, and it also decreases your stress, your cortisol hormone by 25%.
Well, remember, so I love that statistic because it's something easy that we can do.
Yeah, and it's your body. And so you don't need yoga. And people like, oh, that yoga's woo-woo and blah, blah, blah. And if you've never done it, I think people have that. People think that takes a lot to get out of our own head sometimes.
And that, I think of yoga as, yes, they're poses, but it's it's less about the poses, is about going into the real world with that feeling that you have on the mat.
Yes.
That calm that you end up
Yes.
finding. Because if you don't surrender into the poses, which are like, the body's not meant to move this way.
Well, but I think, but I think
My hips don't do that.
But I think yoga is not really about the movements. I think it's really
Right.
about the mindset. And, so a lot of people that have that opinion, it's because I had that opinion first too. And I was like, yoga. I'm like, yeah.
Stretching, John calls it stretching. You're going to stretch.
Yes.
It's like, well, it's so much more than that.
Yes. And so until you actually do it and embrace it and understand it. But people think that it's hard to change your mindset, or it requires a lot of effort. It doesn't. I just told you the Superman pose.
Right.
That's just one thing.
Well, Jordan Peterson, his very first book, The 12 Rules for Life, his first chapter is about lobsters.
Yes.
And he talks about how stand up straight with your shoulders back. And he talks about the psychology of a lobster when they fight and they lose the fight. The lobster that fights
what it actually
and
does
wins,
to their bodies.
Yes, I don't know what lobsters have for hormones or whatever, but it releases something. They physically get bigger every fight they win. And that's why at the end of it, it's a beautiful chapter about lobsters. And so if you ever see
I
him
posted it. If you scroll down on Lisa and Robyn on the mic, I do have a little 5-minute Jordan Peterson he explains the lobsters and about
Okay.
how it affects your,
Oh, perfect.
defeated. When
Right.
you're defeated, what happens to your
Right.
body.
And so he says if it's good enough for a lobster, it's good enough for you.
Yeah.
Stand up straight with your shoulders back. My mother always used to stick her hand in between my shoulder blades so that I would put my shoulders back and my chest forward.
that's-
Because when
yeah.
girls are young and they're starting to develop, and people make fun of them for developing,
Yes, you hunch over.
you hunch to hide it. And so she was always like, no, stand up straight, which I agree. Stand up straight.
Yeah, it also works in the opposite when you don't have any. You're like, oh.
Let me hide the fact that I don't have any.
So, I just had it somewhere. He just said monkey.
Oh, can I talk about a dish I made this week?
Oh yeah.
We go to this restaurant called the Venetian Moon, and the only thing I've ever had at this restaurant is this chicken dish stuffed with prosciutto, mushrooms, sun-dried tomatoes, in a port cream sauce.
Oh God.
And it is so phenomenal that I keep saying in my head, I have to make. The last couple of times I went, the food wasn't warm, and I hate that. I hate when you go to a restaurant and the food's not warm. So I've been really craving it, and I didn't want to drive all the way down to Reading, where the restaurant is. So I'm like, I'm going to make it. I had chicken thighs, so I was like, I don't have to bother rolling, because I'm doing this after work at 6:15 at night. So I take chicken thighs, I put in a Cuisinart, I put a container of prosciutto into the Cuisinart, about a quarter of an entire jar of sun-dried tomatoes that are whole, so when I chop them up, I'm not getting the ones already chopped up. And then I put 4 mushrooms in there. And then I pulse it to bind it all together. And then I stuff it underneath the chicken thigh skin. So that becomes my layer of flavor and also insulator to my chicken thighs.
Keep the moisture in.
Yep. I bake those in the oven at 350 for an hour. On the stove, 30 minutes before the chicken's ready, I saute all my mushrooms. Then I cover it in thyme, salt, pepper. You season them. Add a little bit of butter and olive oil. Get those all nice and seasoned. Then I pour in half a bottle of port. Let that simmer for a few minutes. Then I put about 1.5 cups of chicken broth. Now I'm reducing that down by half. So for 30 minutes, I reduce that in a wide mouth saute pan, boiling it all down. Then I take it off the stove. I added the first night I added half a cup of cream. The second night, because I made it again, I added a full cup of cream. And then
I bet that's good.
I just simmered that for another 3 minutes just so that the cream is really fully incorporated into the sauce, covered in the sauce. To die for. Nailed it.
Gosh, you'll have to post that.
I will have to post that.
We'll have to do that Daily Fork recipe.
Yes,
That's
it's
good.
really, really good.
So last night I made
And John said he thinks the chicken thighs were good because normally the chicken breast can get dried out.
yes.
And he said he would do it with the chicken thighs again.
Do you think it's because the bone The bone is on.
And there's more fat with inside the dark meat, so I just think it handles high and long cooking
So
better.
how many chicken thighs makes you feel satiated?
For John, it's 3. For me, I can do 1. And then I did pour it over pasta so that the pasta soaked up all that juice instead of mashed potatoes.
That sounds good.
John does 3, I do 1, and so I make 8. So I have 4 for one night, 4 for the next night.
That's awesome.
And
That
the,
sounds
and
really
the
good.
oven does all the cooking. Like you don't have to manage stuff on a stove or.
Yeah. So how long do you cook it in the oven for?
I cooked it for an hour the first night, and then I cooked it for 40 minutes the next night. And the next night, the skin was really toasted, and really. So you could cook those if you were making 8 in just one meal and you had no for leftovers. I would probably cook that for at least an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes, so that the skin is just
Crispy.
hard. It's almost hard, crispy,
yes,
almost
I
like a
like
little
that.
helmet.
Yes, I
So
like that.
almost crackly.
That sounds good.
So that's the new recipe of the week.
If you, I was trying to find that thing about Jordan Peterson. I know he talks about when they get into a fight, when the lobsters get into a fight. You know, when they win, the status in their, their status goes up. In their brain, the serotonin levels go up, so it makes them less irritable, and they experience less negative emotions per unit of uncertainty. If our status goes down and it alters their state, it regulates their emotions. So it's talking about how they were similar, how our serotonin levels are even in lobsters, and how many billions of years removed are we from the food chain, from the separated from the lobster, but yet they still have this same connection that we have today. Like, so how many other animals have that? It is about chemistry. It is about energy. It's about what you put out there and how it's perceived, how we receive it. I thought that was just interesting.
I also think it's interesting that, losses, we get defeated by losses and then we cower. Our body does the same thing from a loss. And, one of the things I think that is so important for children to do team sports or individual sports is to learn how to lose gracefully and how to win gracefully.
Yeah, well, I think we're not taught to accept defeat, that you can't win at everything. And you were talking, we started the show this morning, you were talking about the book that you were reading about our children, about being, what was the word you used? Anxious.
It's called the anxious generation.
Well, I think I've said it on a few shows. We don't, my experience taking children through the school system, my biggest complaint was that you overstimulate them. We don't teach children downtime.
On the same note, but a slightly different topic, I heard a woman say that when your child is hitting other kids, you're not teaching them the skills to deal with their frustration. So the hitting is a behavior, obviously, you want to minimize, but over the next week, you need to work on the skills for dealing with frustration other than hitting.
Yes.
And I don't think we really understand that we are guides and spirit guides,
Yes.
as well as,
We're the bumpers.
for children. And because a lot of times, do I have a great way of dealing with disappointment and frustration?
Right.
What would I teach them? I guess I got to learn from myself so I can teach it to them. And I think that's why they say children are our greatest teachers, if you're willing to learn. Because
Yes.
I came from a generation where they weren't learning anything. You better adjust your attitude to meet our requirements.
Well, I think
It's a different time.
I think everything has a life cycle. And I think that as we get older, we find I want to say preciousness.
That's why grandchildren to grandparents are so different than children to
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
And that's the gift of you have children, you do all of this. There's a lot of sacrifice in raising children, and there's a lot of work and energy you put into them, but then you get grandchildren and it's just the joy of children.
Well, you're in it. Raising kids, you're in it, so you can't see. It's just like when you're growing when you're physically growing to a taller height, you don't see the micro changes every day. You never see those. And it's like, even as aging, like I looked in the mirror this morning and I'm like, man, just looking hard. But in my brain,
I wish you wouldn't say anything bad about my Robyn.
well, it was
Don't hurt my
moments.
feelings when you say bad things about my Robyn.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. No, but it's true. We all see those moments. And, in my mind, I feel like I'm in my 20s or in my 30s.
Yeah.
And
I'm 18.
I look back
I'm
at our
19.
pictures. I look back at our pictures, even like last month. But then you look in the mirror and it just caught me off guard. Like, wow, I'm feeling my age. And I'm like, wow, I can see the wear and tear. And I don't want to see the wear and tear. There are times I want to see the wear and tear, but other times I don't. And it's that shocking, like, golly, I feel like I'm 30. What's happening? Like,
I know there's some days I feel 100 and other days I feel 19.
yes.
But I'm going to have a birthday next week. I'm going to be 52.
I know. I actually thought that was pretty cool when we were working yesterday and you opened your laptop and you had Freedom 52 on there. And you also have it written down on the board. And I thought you had it written somewhere else that I saw. And I was like, you know what? That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. You have a motto. I think everybody has a mantra or a motto. And I love the fact that I see the people that I love in my circle picking up things that serve them and laying down things that don't serve them. And man, does that make you just fired up and like, yes, this is good. We're on the same vibration. We're on the good. This is good.
You always have to make new plans going forward.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's a monotony and a routine to life that can be boring, if nothing else. And I know some people, they like routine. They don't like change and all of that. But you can't be the same at 19 as you are at 50.
Right.
There's certain qualities. If you're kind and generous and supportive, yes,
Right.
be those things. But you have to change a little bit because you are changing.
Right.
Hopefully you're growing and evolving, and
Hopefully you're changing.
right, and hopefully you're finding peace. I didn't have a lot of peace when I was younger, so that's one of the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for wisdom. I thought I was smart when I was young. Now I'm actually looking for wisdom. What can I glean from a situation
Right.
what can I do differently?
I think when your eyes are open in trying to be more self-aware, I think you start looking at the world differently. For years, Chris would say, when we would watch movies, he would say, I watch movies very differently from you guys because we have always used it for entertainment, and we still use TV as community. Not so much now that the kids are older, but a lot of times, hey, what was your takeaway? What are your thoughts? I wanted to see how their brains were processing what we're seeing. And then it's also connection because we're communicating about it.
And storytelling, we are storytelling creatures.
Yes. And Chris is like, I always try to watch it from the perspective of what is the producer, what is the artist trying to tell me? What is the message behind this? What is he has spent, whoever wrote the script is trying to send us a message. And so now I'm in that space too. And like, what is my takeaway from these things? And you just start to see things so differently. And I think once you get to that level, I don't know if awareness is the right word, but once you get to that level of being able to see things or the way that you handle information, I think the world opens up to you. And I think that you start taking people's advice and opinions very differently from then when you're not.
Yeah, I saw this wonderful little meme, and it said, don't care what other people, you've met other people, right? They're terrible.
Right.
And I just thought that was hilarious. And I also think, to your point, if you're looking for problems, you'll find more problems. If you're looking for solutions, you'll find solutions.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking, whatever you look for, the act of looking finds.
Well, you'll attract it.
And I think in a marriage, if you want to look for reasons that your spouse is bothering you, you're going to find them all day and all night. If you're looking for things that make that your partner does that brings you joy, you will find those too. It's what are you focusing on? You'll find more of. The beginning of the year, I took a word this year, and my word was engaged, and I'm really trying to be engaged more, which is a difficult thing for me as a business owner. Planning the future. Everything is never today.
Yes.
It's what we have to do today, but it's also because 3 months from now, what I do today will manifest itself.
Yes.
In seeds. And
Chris always said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
the next
second best time is right
today.
now.
It's today. So when I'm in being more engaged, I am finding magic more.
Yes. I love that.
And it's made me, so the other day I'm driving and this V of geese flew really close over my truck to wherever they were going. And it reminded me of the magic when I lived in Derry. I was walking around Beaver Lake and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I hear honking. And it's geese, and there were probably like 30 of them flying into land on the lake. But they were landing right where I was walking, so they were, maybe a foot or two above my head. And they're big birds.
Yes,
and that many of them to come, it was almost like the movie The Birds, right, for a second. But I love animals, so for a second I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. This never happens. I always see them on the ground. I never see them in flight like that. And they were all honking to each other, and they were all making micro adjustments, and then you could hear them. It was just the most magical thing. And I forgot about that memory until the birds flew over my truck.
Cool.
And then I started thinking about what other magical things have happened. And I tried to pull from my memory some magical things, and now it seems like I'm seeing things that I find magical. A mouse came up to me in the parking lot, ran up to my shoe yesterday, and I'm like, what are you doing in the middle of the parking lot? Are you trying to tell me to find your babies? I looked around to see if there was something going on, but I'm waiting for the deer to come up to me in my yard.
Well, we have a bunny. We have a bunny, and he's been out all winter. I do throw carrots out there.
That might be why he's out
I don't know if he does it or not, but the cats now have seen it, and Milo wants you to come pick him up so he can see, because he can't quite jump up, and the ledge is a little bit small. So he wants you to hold him for a little bit so he can see the rabbit. Jonah's like, do you think we should let him out? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Stella would have that thing apart in a heartbeat.
Do you want to see a murder?
And I'm like,
do you want to witness a murder?
But I love it, and I love seeing them. I love seeing there's wildlife, and he keeps coming back. And I've walked by him now. It's probably been a couple of months. I've walked by him now, and he'll stop, but he doesn't hop away. And I'm like, that gets me excited. Even just the little things of like, well, I wonder if I can just calm my presence down just a little bit more. And I mean, we used to have chipmunks.
I wonder if you sat really calm and for a long period of time with a carrot.
I could try that. I need a nice day.
I know.
Because we had some crappy
We have
days.
not had any nice
Well,
days.
we've had chipmunks. We've had a chipmunk that got his tail bitten off, or torn off, or in a fight or whatever. So it was this tiny, tiny little stumpy tail. But he would always run along the deck railing, and he'd come up to the window, and there were a lot of times I was sitting down, and I would sit on the bottom step, and he would run right underneath my legs, and I would put little seeds out and just leave them kind of at my feet on the ground, and he'd come up. And like, we had chipmunk. Chris is like, you're gonna feed them, you're getting all those critters. And I'm like, no, we did have a lot of chipmunks, but I have not fed the chipmunks in our house, this new house. So
Well, I have a lot of chipmunks, not because I'm feeding them, because I'm feeding the birds. But then I also have hawks, foxes, bobcats. I have everything eating these chipmunks. So I feel like it's just the circle of life. Yes, I'm feeding the birds, but I'm also feeding everything else.
she's like, I'm going to affect the life cycle here right now. I can control chipmunk population.
I know the first season it looks really bad because there's so many more, and then we get less and less and less and less.
Well, gosh, do you guys remember a couple of years ago when the chipmunks and the squirrels, like, it's roadkill everywhere you go?
It was so alarming. I felt like it was Armageddon. Why are all these squirrels dead on the highway?
Well, we also had a lot of, like, this is the year of pine cones. We have massive amounts of popcorn, pine cones that have fallen. But do you know that more years, some years, the acorns are more abundant. Man, I had like 10 5-gallon buckets that I was raking up. It was so many acorns.
You should leave them for the bears. Put them in a pile in the back.
Well, so what I did was I would take them and I would throw them all down in the woods, and I'd pile them up, and I'm like, man, I've already done your job for you. Sometimes I'd put them on the edge of the flower bed over like towards the woods part of it, just to get them out of the grass, because they will root in there. But there were just so many of them. And I'm like, I've done all your work, you guys. All the squirrels, all the chipmunks, everybody that's eating
Over there.
and they're not getting them. I'm still having to move them out of the yard. But it's just, there's like life cycles, man. They were, and I even remember in our town on the Facebook page, everybody's commenting about how many dead animals are on the road. I'm like, you haven't seen any. Anyway.
Well, they were saying, I think the year something happens with the food, so then they're moving, they're more en masse moving across highways and stuff to try to look for more food, or
Yes.
there becomes a birth population and the thing that normally takes them doesn't, so now there's so many more of them, so it becomes that off balance.
I'm like, I'm trying to save your life. You don't have to cross the road over there.
Right, go in the back.
Those are bad neighbors. Had lots of food for you over here.
They have a dog that would eat you like that.
Yes.
You are listening to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. If you ever miss us on a Thursday, you can watch repeats, recorded shows on YouTube as well.
Hey, I have a question for you.
I'm ready.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Ooh.
I know that's hard. Well, so we can couch it, and I also want to know what the worst advice is that you've ever been given. My worst advice is I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I do have one, but I think the best advice that somebody's ever given to me is listen to your gut. And I feel like, we dismiss it quickly. But it actually is empowering, because I do think that we are all equipped with everything. I was going to say everything we need inside of us is already there. Our experiences and how we gain wisdom is through experiences and being open and, being able to filter information. Pick up the pieces that resonate with us. But I do believe everything that we have inside of us is already there. We just don't know how to tap into it. So I don't want to say people like, well, I don't know that skill. I haven't done it. It's not that. I'm talking about how we, our soul, our self, our internal self, how we see the world, how we view people, what we put out. I think that we already have all of those things. I think raising kids, that we were talking about, being bumpers and being boundaries. We're not necessarily given the tools. There's nobody that writes a book and says, hey, you're getting ready to have a baby. Here's the advice I want to give you. One of the other pieces of advice that I was given is never lose sight. When I was a young mom, somebody said to me, never lose sight that they're children. You don't want to... you don't want to kill the spirit of the child. You want to kill the
Impulse?
Well, when you're punishing someone, you want to crush the behavior, not the spirit of the child. But she said, never lose sight that they're children, but never forget that you're raising a woman and you're raising a young man. And what kind of woman do you want her to be? And what kind of man do you want him to be? And I used that guide through raising them. Did I get it right? I mean, I think I have some pretty great humans.
You do.
I'm pretty impressed with them.
Yeah, you do.
But I
You
don't
have
want to
great
brag and toot my own horn, but I actually just love who they are. Aside from me, I don't know if I gave you any of those gifts, thank you God for, working through me to put that in part on them. But that's probably one of the 2 pieces of best advice I've ever been given. I try to see the world that way. I'm not here to control you. I'm here to influence you and giving you safe bumpers for you to explore who you are. And if we could write a book like that and say, hey, you're getting ready to have a baby, this is how you do it. I don't have all the answers, but if we had that principle, like what if all new parents just think about what I'm raising a young man? Would you still scream at them at the grocery store like, no, you can't. No, you can't have that. You're always doing this. And I was in Walmart yesterday and pushing the cart, and this grandmother has got her grandson, and she's like, you only can get one toy. And she's like, because I don't want you to grow up to be spoiled. And I'm like, why is that even, that's so unnecessary. But the way that she was saying it, she's like, I don't want you to be spoiled. And I don't want to be spoiled. She kept saying it, kept over and over again. So, I mean, I hear her coming at me. She's coming. There's two older people behind her. So when I passed her, I just said, I don't know. I kind of like being spoiled. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. And the two people behind them laughed. And I said it in a very joking way. She kind of laughed too. And she was like, yeah, but don't tell him. And but it was the kind of the thing. She's so unaware of how she's coming across. But I just thinking about, you don't have to be spoiled, but you don't have to be, no, why don't you teach balance? Instead of being like, oh, having two is indulgence. I think there's just a lot of different ways to phrase something that can be empowering
And can you have that talk with me? I only need one. I go into a store, there's everything. I want everything. I went to the bookstore to buy magazines for the flight for us. And I told myself, you're not buying any books because you have a million books and you're not going to read them. You're going on vacation, magazines only. And I'm like, but I have to go to the bathroom. So I walk through the store and I want all the books.
I know.
Right? And I have to have a talk with me about, and it's not even about being spoiled. It's like, you're not even going to read them right now. What are you buying? You have so many books at home and that you haven't read, and you just ordered another one on Audible. Just calm down.
I'm preparing.
Calm down. And then there's that part of me that I want to possess all the books. I want all the ideas. I want all the stories, right? And I just throw myself out of the store.
See, I'm like that with, I'm not like that with clothes.
Right. So when she's telling the kid, I don't want you to be spoiled. How about, here's a store and I'm in line behind a guy and a kid, and the guy is trying to check out, and the kid keeps picking up all the toys that are on that rotating stand at the checkout, and he's yelling at the kid about the toy. Put that down, put that down. It's like they put it there because we're all going to grab it on the way out.
Right.
It's the psychology of how we buy. It's not our fault.
Right. You as the parent, the people they have done their job far better than you know.
So I think about, my mother used to talk about why would I take my kid to the supermarket? There should be, hey, I have to go to the store. I don't want to have to argue with my kid about all these things. We should have like a babysitting group in a neighborhood amongst your friends. Hey, I have to go to Target. Do you want me to get your stuff at Target if you watch my kid? Because the children shouldn't be at the store with all the toys.
Well, everybody has a store. As a woman alone, going into Target is dangerous already.
Right. Now
because
you
never walk away with just what you came in for.
Never.
So now you got to have 2 or 3 in your entourage. Now you're like, now I'm battling for all 3 of us.
Get a
because
second
they're not
cart.
strong enough to tell themselves no. So now
I have to be the no for everybody.
Right.
I hate being the no for everyone. I want to be the yes.
Right.
John's been saying the
I
other
got to
day.
be the front line for everybody here, and I'm not strong enough in Target. I need you to have my back. I need a wingman. Everybody needs a wingman for Target.
And I'm not allowed to go to Hobby Lobby by myself or the fabric store by myself.
Oh, yeah. Hobby Lobby's a hard one to get out of, too.
And I used to go to the fabric store because I used to sew. And I'd be like, well, this is beautiful fabric. And then I would have to have the voice of, what are you making with it? Don't you already have fabric at home? Have you finished the project you're working on? That's not going to make beautiful curtains.
And then you're like, well, I haven't figured it out yet, but this is so beautiful. And then they might not resell it, so I might have to get it.
Right.
I don't
I'm
know
not
what I'm gonna
allowed.
make, but I'm going to make something.
I'm not allowed to go by myself. I'm not allowed. And even in Hobby Lobby, I'll send a text message to my friend. I'm in Hobby Lobby by myself. And she writes back, get out.
Well, that'll have to be a show about excessive compulsion. I have
there's
that with
so many
jeans.
good things there.
Yes, it is.
And I need all of it.
Well, and it sparks your creativity, I think.
Yes, it does. There's so many possibilities.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I could rearrange my landing would look really good like this. Or I
It
think it's time
would.
for my bathroom to get her makeover.
Yeah. We're coming to the top of the hour. What are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. We can talk about advice.
We can talk
Opinions.
about advice.
We can talk about advice.
Yes, opinions.
People's opinions. We do need to have a show about love, self-love.
Well,
I think we
that
do
in a second.
self-love, and then we could do one about relationships. And if you are listening and you have a topic that you would like for us to talk about, please chime in. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. You can message us.
Also on Instagram.
And you can contact the radio show. But to get us live, just comment on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll be back at the top of the hour. We'll see you in a minute.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.
Have you tried to quit drinking before, and much to your surprise and dismay, you couldn't? Have you tried therapy, meetings, and treatment programs, but still can't seem to stay stopped? Or maybe you live in fear that you'll lose your job, your home, or your family, and much more if you don't get this figured out, and soon. Well, there is hope. My name is Bill Nielsen, and I'm the founder of Nascent 24 Recovery and Life Coaching. And I struggled for over a decade. Yup, 10 years, trying to get it right. I lost jobs, 5 6-figure jobs in fact, homes, friends, relationships. I thought I'd never get off the merry-go-round or the roller coaster, but I did. And I've developed a proven proprietary process that works. Why does it work? Because it addresses the root cause and not the symptoms. No more Band-Aids on bullet wounds. It's a 12-week journey that will transform your entire life, not just the drinking thing. I work one-on-one with every single client, and your privacy and anonymity are paramount. The great part is that you don't have to leave your home, your job, or your family. Text me the word recovery to 203-241-1266. That's 203-241-1266. Or visit my website, nascent24.com, NASCENT24.com. There is a solution. Take the first step. You won't regret it.
USA News, I'm Ryan Daniels. A controversial new Texas immigration law will be kept on hold. According to a ruling of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, the 3-judge panel in New Orleans ruled 2-1, denying Texas's request to suspend a lower court ruling which found the Lone Star State's SB 4 unconstitutional. The law would allow Texas state and local officers to arrest people they suspect to be in the country illegally. The Biden administration has sued, claiming the state of Texas has no authority to enforce federal immigration law. Transportation Chief Pete Buttigieg discussing priorities now that recovery is beginning in the wake of the bridge collapse in Baltimore.
Reopen the port, deal with the supply chain implications until the port does reopen, rebuild the bridge, and deal with the surface transportation implications until the bridge is rebuilt.
6 people are presumed dead after a cargo ship hit a pillar of the bridge early Tuesday morning. The NTSB says the cargo ship that hit the bridge was carrying toxic chemical materials. A longtime U.S. Senator from Connecticut has died.
Longtime former Connecticut Senator, Democrat Joe Lieberman, has died at the age of 82. His family says he passed away as the result of a fall. Lieberman, the first Jewish American nominated to a major party's presidential ticket as Al Gore's running mate back in the year 2000.
There are some people who might actually call Al's selection of me an act of chutzpah, to be honored to be a major party candidate for the vice presidency.
USA's Laura Winters, a West Point cadet, dead in Florida. Now police investigations underway. Officers say 21-year-old Haven Morris of California was reported missing in Fort Lauderdale Saturday night. Divers found his body in a local waterway 2 days later. Initially, police said it appeared to be an accidental drowning, but an investigation continues. This is USA News.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-362-9337. 800-362-9337. That's 800-362-9337.
Alltrix Primary Care, Nashua. They are a dedicated group of board-certified nurse practitioners, NPs, striving to make a difference in healthcare. They promise to make every effort to provide you with the best possible care and focus on you as an individual. As NPs, they are licensed to assess, diagnose, treat medical conditions, and prescribe medications. At Alltrix, they welcome new patients and accept most commercial insurance plans and Medicare. For those without insurance, consider Alltrix Direct, which provides all of your primary care for a small, affordable membership fee. No co-pays, no fee for service payments, and no third-party billing. Alltrix Primary Care provides unhurried, highly personalized health care for you and your family. Visit alltrixpc.com/Nashua. That's www.alltrixpc.com/Nashua. Alltrix Primary Care, changing the future of primary care for you and your family.
Are you or your loved ones in need of compassionate care in the comfort of your own home? Look no further than Heaven Sent Home Care. Heaven Sent knows the importance of personalized care tailored to your unique needs. Whether it is assistance with daily activities, medication management, or specialized medical care, our compassionate caregivers are ready to provide the highest quality of in-home care. The services provided by Heaven Sent Home Care extend beyond physical care. They also offer companionship, ensuring that you or your loved ones have someone to share stories, laughters, and meaningful moments with. Experience the peace of mind that comes with knowing your loved ones are in capable hands. Or visit us online at heavensenthomecarellc.com to schedule a consultation and learn more about the comprehensive range of services provided. Heaven Sent Home Care, where care and compassion come together.
Are you craving a delicious home-cooked breakfast or lunch? Look no further than Cookie's Diner, Hudson's favorite dining spot. But it's not just about the food at Cookie's Diner. Their friendly staff provides top-notch service, making you feel like part of the diner family. Cookie's Diner, conveniently located at 222 Central Street in Hudson. They're open Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. and Sunday from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. Call-ahead orders are always welcome via DoorDash or by calling 603-880-3424. Cookie's Diner, where great food and fantastic service come together.
Come try your luck at the Lucky Moose Casino and Tavern. Your favorite casino gaming machines await you, including Ultimate Firelink, Buffalo, and Wheel of Fortune. Visit the Lucky Moose, exit 6 off the Everett Turnpike, or online at theluckymoosecasino.com. Open daily at 9 a.m., breakfast 9 to noon, and our delicious menu available for the rest of the day. Burgers, chicken tenders, pizza, and more.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn on the mic.
Welcome. Welcome to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, which also has transcriptions if you're ever watching it on the internet, which is interesting. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Did you ever figure out what's your best advice that you've given or received?
My father told me to make sure that whatever I do for a living, I like doing because I was going to spend my whole life doing it.
That's good. Love what you do. Love what you do. I like that.
So I thought that was a really good piece of advice. And then when I got into the workforce and it was something that I had a vision of it in my head, and then I was bringing it into reality, I was excited to work. There was no such thing as, they would I worked for the accident reporting division of the Federal Aviation Administration in Burlington, and we would have the National Transportation Safety Board come up, and they would do these things, and they would say, do you want to go do that? And it was like, yes, of course I want to go do that. And then, hey, we have to go do something when the Thunderbirds, was it Thunderbirds? What's the name of the?
Blue Angels?
Blue Angels. When the Blue Angels come by, do you want to go and sit at the information? Yes. Yes, I want to do all of these things.
Yes.
And then I would sit there and think, I am being paid right now.
To do what
to do something I would have done for free.
Yes.
I would have just paid to come here.
I think that we
so
have
I think
a hard
that's good
time.
advice.
Yeah, it is great advice. And especially when you take it. So why do you think that we ask people for advice?
I think we want confirmation of what we have in our head. And I think that's why advice is so terrible. Because we're seeking
affirmation, maybe?
Confirmation of what we want. We want to hear someone tell us what we already want. And when that doesn't, that's why when sometimes people will say, I'm never going to tell you, don't take my advice. And it's like, well, and sometimes I think people ask for advice because they're bouncing off to try to validate, is what I'm thinking okay? Or am I off track? And when you ask enough people about advice, if you keep hearing the same thing and over again, it might be validating you're going in the right direction, or you're hearing the opposite of what you should be doing, which now becomes maybe I'm not oriented in the correct direction. I think I'm trying to think of what some of the worst advice.
It's 11:11.
Ooh.
I had to say it. I had to say it to draw everybody that's listening to it. I cannot tell you how many times a day I have double digits show up.
And what does
Sorry,
that mean?
that was a pattern interrupt.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
Well, I think when you keep seeing all of the multiple ones over and over, because it will be 333 and 222, and change is coming. I think that's the whole takeaway of it. And I've looked it all up, but it's kind of like the weather. I go and look at the weather for the day, and as soon as I close out of the app, I forget.
Right.
That's the same way.
Yeah.
I don't hold it so closely. But one of the things I would like to talk about today is, one of the things that we don't think about is, if we're asking for advice, we're not considering our source.
Yes.
And so we're not considering our source. And so I would like to touch on that and just get opinions about, because I think that when we ask advice we want somebody to agree with us. We're looking for validation, or we're looking for affirmation, confirmation. And when we don't get that, we meet resistance. Because when somebody gives you advice and it's in the opposite of what you're thinking, most people, what we do is like, what? We get prickly and we'll shut down and be like, well, why is that? And then we argue our point, but we don't actually stop to analyze, stop to think about, well, why did this affect me? Why am I having a negative reaction to this? Is there something that I need to explore more? Coming from the perspective of, okay, why did this hit me this way? Do I need to expand? And also, I think that we need to consider our source.
I will tell you that recently I've been trying not to defend a position that's wrong. So when I do something wrong and I get into an argument, I'm trying really hard not to defend my position or defend or give an excuse. Oh, it's impossible. Let's just start saying it's not impossible, because I've managed a couple of days where at the end of it I'm like, wow, that's really, and it prevented the argument from getting worse, which really gets exhausting when you're just now you're defending a line that you don't even believe in, but now you've put your line in the sand, and now you're defending this line even though there's no business being there.
Right.
The other thing I've been trying to do is, and I think I said this before on the show, I think we have excuses everywhere for everything. Everything from I ordered a bathing suit over a month ago. It's not coming till after my vacation. Don't even bother mailing it to me. I feel like telling them. But everything is an excuse, you know, of why it's not here and what's going on and all that. So I'm trying to not. It's impossible, I feel like sometimes. But so, for example, I responded to an email. They asked for something else. I forgot to send it to them. So I read the email, worked on something else, totally forgot that the email existed. So she wrote back, "You never sent me that." And instead of saying, "Oh, yeah, I started doing something," you know, you give your excuses, I wrote, "Thank you for the reminder." So now that's my thing. Because how everyone comes out, no one's giving the benefit of the doubt.
The truth of the matter is it's sent. You're gonna waste your energy.
It is, and also when you are giving excuses, you're making excuses for yourself.
Yes,
and not that saying thank you for the reminder is anything better, but I'm not hearing myself give an excuse either.
I like that.
And now some days I do a better job of it than others, but I'm really trying to. And that's also making me, if I say I'm going to do something, to do it as I say I'm not going to do it, not the next day or another day. You know, I gave myself some deadlines for work that were Friday. And the person wrote me an email saying, "I hope I don't have to take action because I haven't done whatever." I'm like, "Well, I gave you the deadline of Friday. It's Wednesday. And you will have it by Friday." But that was my defensive response. Right. And it's like, yep, I'm planning on doing whatever on Thursday, which means that I'll meet and I didn't say, and I'm going to meet my deadline, but your deadline was this date. I pulled in the deadline by 2 months and you're already anxiously telling me that I'm not meeting a deadline that's not here yet. So I think if I were to jump into a layer of excuses, and it's like, well, I don't even need an excuse. Like, but that would be defending my position. Someone's attacking me unnecessarily. My deadline hasn't passed yet. But so it's interesting to try to navigate things different than I've always navigated them.
I think it reminds me of a saying. It just says that knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. And so you think about advice like that. But you think about it, advice like that. I don't need to engage with you. I know that I'm right, or I know that I sent it. It's irrelevant of how, like, if you missed it. We're just going to waste time and do.
Well, the normal person would be like, I sent that on this day and I'd resend it.
Yes.
Instead of saying I sent that on this day, which was really more me saying I did what I said I was going to do. Here's proof of it. I just here it is.
Yes.
I don't even say here it is again. I just say here it is, because I'm trying to interact in a way that you like interacting with me.
Yes, but you're also not going to get caught into somebody else's drama, and I feel like that's definitely a pitfall of, like, we have to prove ourselves right. Or
and the workplace has a lot of drama,
and a lot of times it is like if they're all caught up into that emotion of it, we get sucked into it. How many times does somebody else has a deadline and we get panicked because the energy that they're giving to us is, it's got to be right now. And so I love that is wisdom. You were like, I want to get wisdom, more wisdom. And I'm like, that's so true. It's knowing, like the whole fruit and the tomato, it's knowing when to engage and not engage.
And most of it is habit. So much of what we do is habit. We've done what we do because we always do it because we've always done it. But that's not really a good reason.
Yes. See, I ask advice not because I want you to tell me what to do. I want to see what your opinion is. I'm exploring if I've made the right decision for me. I know where my gut is leaning, because Chris is like, are you just talking? Are you just bouncing something off of me? And I kind of am. Like, I do respect and value your input if I ask you the question. It doesn't mean, and he's like, well, why did you go that way? You didn't take my advice. Well, I wasn't asking you
permission for something
to tell me what to do. I mean, and not just Chris. I wasn't asking you what to do. I need feedback because I'm a verbal processor.
Yeah, I am a verbal processor.
And I don't need to, but I also think sometimes we ask people for advice. We respect them or we're looking for their opinion. And a lot of times they are not giving you advice for where you are. They're giving you advice based upon where they are emotionally. So I'm like, we have to be really careful about the things we let in and what things that we let out.
I'm famous for giving unsolicited advice.
That's my favorite word. I said to Chris the other day.
And then I'll have to, as I'm giving someone advice, I'm in the middle of it. So then I say, not that you asked for my advice about this.
Well, so we were in the kitchen cooking I was in the kitchen cooking the other day, and he came in and he's like looking over my shoulder and he tasted and he's like, oh, that sounds good. That looks good. And he's like, tasted that. And he said something. He started talking. He's like, well, why don't you do this? Or you could do this. And I just said, thank you, but I am not taking on any unsolicited advice right now. I said it jokingly, and he kind of laughed. He's like, fair enough, fair enough. But that's going to be my new phrase. So I'm, it's just a gentle reminder, like, I don't need your opinion.
Isn't it interesting how, as a society, through all of these social media outlets, we are nothing but our opinions, and we think our opinions are really important?
Yes.
And they're so not important.
Well, so one of this book I'm listening to right now, and I wrote it on my phone. She's talking about social media and how people are we're so quick to jump on negative. We're so quick to make a negative comment, and we're so quick to judge and put down somebody's successes. And so she said, people oppose progress in other people if they're not performing to their potential, and they know they're not performing to their potential. Go ahead.
There's a really interesting phenomena. We helped clients buy buildings that were in bad disrepair. And that's a value add opportunity. You're buying something that is not performing as best as it can. And it's doing it because, it's in physical disrepair, it's being poorly managed. There's so many different reasons. And I made an entire business model off of helping people identify what could be improved, because that's where you make a lot of money, because you're buying it. Nobody wants the thing that nobody wants. Everybody wants the thing that everybody wants. So everybody wants this, and it's really much higher priced.
Right.
Nobody wants that, so you can get yourself a good deal on that. So, but people would be shocked. I would always tell people, you are going to get so much resistance and pushback from the people who are living in the place you are trying to improve. Part of it is because they feel like, well, if you make this place better, it's going to be worth more, and I don't want to pay more. That is a big part of it. The other part of it is because they no longer belong there. Part of living, there are some people that are living in a crappy place because they can't afford anymore, but they would kill to live in a nice place. And those are the tenants that end up remaining, because now they're because what we said to all of the people, we don't want a 100% empty building, but if you're not going to be on board with us making this a better building, you're not also going to be on board as a tenant here.
Right. And
so there's always tenants that cycle out. And then the remaining tenants are always the most grateful, appreciative, wonderful tenants, because now they were at something from the ground up.
Yeah.
And they do benefit from getting lower rent, because we're not increasing them to the total dollar amount. We're getting the better dollar amount from the ones who are moving in. And we're keeping that stability. They're providing us stability, and we're providing them stability, but we're also providing them a better environment. And those always tend to be the really most amazing people and tenants. They're the ones who start sweeping. They're the ones who start putting out little flowers. They're the ones who pick up the trash, because they want to. Now, they used to live in a really horrible, crappy place, dirty, filthy, all of this other stuff. Now they have this clean, pretty place to live, and they're more incentivized to keep it that way because they knew what it was like before.
Yeah.
But
and you've also given somebody a sense of pride.
Right. But the people who fight you the most don't want the place to improve. And you're doing it for them. I don't live here.
Right.
We're doing it for you. You could come over, but there is it's almost like a mirror to how they were living with they can't continue to live the way they're living. Yeah. They can't be, trash 3 bags, 5 bags inside their apartment. You can't live like that now that we have this improved place.
Right, right.
And so it becomes this mirror of they're not stepping up. They're not going to step up to live in a better place.
Again, it's resistance because,
But so many people, everyone who buys the building thinks when I give them this scenario of you're going to have this pushback, people aren't going to let you in their apartment to fix things. And you're like, why wouldn't you let me in your apartment to fix something? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Well, A, they don't want you to see the condition of their place.
Well, again, it goes back to that whole thing about resistance, the war of art. It's talking about when you're hiding that because you don't want to change.
But people who want to improve things and want to make people's lives better can't fathom that someone doesn't want them to help them.
Right.
So people are always, at first, the first time we do it with someone, they're always like, what do you mean? People aren't going to. I'm like, okay, I'm just giving you our experience.
Well, we're fearful of the unknown because that's going to require me to do something. Now I'm going to have to clean up my act. Now I'm not going to have to be lazy.
Now they're not. The excuse isn't that this place is a crap hole.
Yes,
because they'll tell you this place is a crap hole. It's like, well, are you part of the problem of why it's a crap hole?
The thing is, people don't. There's a lot of people that don't want to change. People are happy with status quo. People are happy with average.
Of habits. Yeah, creatures of habits.
Yes. So one of the things we're talking about that when people like on social media, it's a battleground out there, and it makes you don't want to post things because there's always somebody there to try to knock you down. And hopefully through our show, little tidbits here and there, you're learning to not attach to people's words. And the reason why they're giving you negative feedback, it's their own internal battle that they're struggling with. But the way she said it was just, I've been thinking about it. Cultural addiction to the downfall of others in society is the world that we live in right now.
It's because it makes them feel better about themselves if they can make fun of someone else, or they can feel superior to someone else. I think that's where that comes from. I'll feel better about myself if I think that's why those reality housewife shows where women are screaming with their lips and they're just
that makes me like I'm ashamed.
What does it say about our civilization?
Right. It makes me sad. It makes me sad that is where we are in our evolution of humankind.
We're devolving.
Well, we've seen destruction, and we've had terrorists on our soil. We've been shut down. A virus shuts the country down, and everything is meant to divide us, and we allow it to happen. And we can't celebrate other people's wins because we're so caught up in our own baggage and our own damage that we can't celebrate somebody else.
Were you shocked at how readily people were to just shut down the country? I was shocked.
Yes. Well, we were also told it was going to be for 15 days. So
I know, but after 15 days,
I'm
it was
never,
Well, even at the 15-day, I was at the yoga studio, and I said, I don't understand why we're shutting down, because they're like, hey, we're going to shut down, and they said, well, there's going to be so many deaths like the Spanish plague that the hospitals are just going to be overrun, so it's just getting a handle on the hospitals. And I was like, okay. But I was still like, and I did not understand, the Spanish flu was a plague that killed millions of people. So I was like, all right, if it's the next Spanish, because I'm like, we didn't shut down for Ebola, where you bled from every orifice and died within 3 days of contracting it.
Right.
It's, there's so many awful things that happen that we didn't shut down over. So I'm like, what is this going to look like? And then you hear someone gets it and they tell you to go home and rest, and there's no prescription for it. No way you're like,
it's like living in a sci-fi movie.
It is. But I was amazed at how quickly we cowered. And I thought, this is not good for the people who have power in the world to see how quickly we acquiesced. Because heroes of stories aren't acquiescers.
That's true. Always pushing the envelope forward.
Right? They're standing up. They're standing up and against injustice, or the whole point of the hero's journey is to overcome.
Right.
Adapt and you can't overcome if you're agreeing. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Right. Get out of the way.
I'll tell you to disagree. So I always think about advice is like if I were a cat. I'm a Virgo, and I did learn that. That's one of my spirit animals is a domestic cat.
Which is a murderer in your house.
Right.
Not killing you.
I'm sweet. I'm sweet until you make my claws come out. But what was I saying? Oh, advice. So because I'm a verbal processor and I like to bounce stuff off, if I'm uncertain, so that's what I've learned about me. I ask people's opinions, and I think about it as if I were a cat and all these advices are scratching posts. Which one do I want to rub up against? So, when I get feedback, okay, which one do I resonate with? Which ones do stop me? And that's how I analyze things. Like, okay, so why am I resisting this one? Why did that one nope? Why did I immediately outright eject that one? And why did I lean into that one? It's not just validating my own belief system, but I think that's how I don't just go blindly into making my decision. It's my gut.
Well, what's really interesting is we will come to the same conclusion a lot of times, but the way we get there is different.
Yes.
And I love watching how you got somewhere where I eventually end up, but I don't go the same way. And I almost want to peer inside your brain. I'm like, oh my goodness, how did she do that? Look at that. That was so easy. You go in such a smooth, graceful way to places where I have to knock down that and move that over there and pick this up and move it on the other side, take the front, move it in the back. And I'm like, oh, she got there in this. And I always am like, I want to peer in your brain and find out how you're doing it because I want to make my transition easier.
And so I feel like I'm a wrecking ball, but I do when Chris is
I don't see that at all.
So when Chris asks me, he's like, well, why are you asking my opinion? And I'm like, just because I want to know. I'm actually muscle testing myself. Yes. And so, yes, in some ways I am using you. But isn't that what we are there for? I mean, we're all to use our people, for feedback. And it's just I'm accepting it in a way. I'm allowing myself to receive it in a way where I don't get my feelings hurt or my ego doesn't come into it. Because I'm trying to learn to control my ego. Because ego is good. But all these books that I keep reading, and I think there's going to be a powerful message at the end of this. I'm trying to be in flow, but ego keeps coming back in so many different ways. Even advice. A lot of times people get upset when you don't take their advice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what's your purpose of giving that advice then if you get upset? If they're just asking you for what your opinion is, it doesn't mean that we have to adopt your opinion. We're just asking your insight. And I think and so people...
Maybe we ask that question instead. Let me get your insight on this. And then the other person won't feel like I solicited my ruling and you didn't follow my ruling.
Right.
Because advice does sound like a rule almost.
Right. And the thing is, they are attached to it emotionally. I know that this is what's best for you. No, you don't. I know what's best for me. And my gut knows what's best for me. And I don't know that until there's my scratching posts. That's the reason why I ask for people. So just taking time to reflect and being like, well, how do I make my decisions? I've learned about me that I take feedback. I go and gather all my information, and then I make my decision based upon my gut.
How many people do you believe think it's their voice or their gut when it's the voice of the world around them?
Oh, gosh, I did. Who's the voice in your head?
Yeah.
Just even pausing to ask yourself that question. Whose voice is this in my head when I'm asking the question or when I'm struggling or on the fence?
Or who's saying that? Am I saying that? Is it that a parent? Because when you and I talked about accumulation and making space, one of the things we said was to make space in your head, you have to identify what's yours and what's not. These ideas that accumulate, are they just regurgitated stuff that you see on social media that you now believe when you might not really believe that? Do I really even believe that?
See, so I don't like the word punishment. I don't like the word in having to choose either or. And I think part of that folds into the reasons why. When somebody asks me for advice, I feel like I try to give them options. I try to give like, hey, here's different.
The problem with me is I'm so opinionated. I feel like I bark out my advice, and then when I hear what they say, I go, okay, I'm changing my advice. Okay, sorry, I was really bossy there for a second. Let me back up.
It's actually what I'm doing is I'm looking for a different perspective, and so that's what. And so the giver of the advice, we should all say, hey, this person is respects me enough that they want my perspective, not your opinion, not your advice. I just want to get feedback from you. I want to see how you process that, because I feel like we're such a closed-minded society. We operate on feelings so much faster than we do on our thoughts. Like pausing to say, what is my instinct telling me? And pausing to say, when we hit resistance, when somebody says something that we don't like, pause. Is this fact or feeling? Am I operating in feelings, and why am I feeling resistance to this? So you can't help but to not be more open-minded if you just stop and ask yourself these questions. And I feel like watch what happens in your life.
Also, when you are feeling resistance, try to feel where in your body you feel it.
Oh, yes.
And that's a hard one, because at one point you'll be like, everywhere feels that. Everywhere feels like, shh, no.
It's only in my big toe, so we're good.
But sometimes it's in our chest or in our throat, almost like we're feeling suffocated.
Yes.
And other times it's in our stomachs, in our lower stomachs.
In the groin?
No, not in the groin as much as like the...
I was just watching.
Oh.
I was watching you go down.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more like in a bad way. Well, I guess you could say something that could make me
go R-rated.
You could say something that could make me feel it in my groin. That's why I'm trying to read the dirty books.
Get a little tingly.
Get a little tingly in the groin. No, but I'm thinking like you have news that hits you, and you're almost like, I could lose my lunch, or I could go out the other. Like it's such bad, almost like a bad feeling, like your stomach's emptying because it's so bad.
Yes.
Like that fight or flight.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but I would like the little more tingly. I would like the more tingly feelings.
Well, isn't that
less of the I'm gonna lose my lunch?
Isn't that the goal in life? Is to be more tingly?
Yes, more tingly. And what makes me tingly? Laughter always makes me tingly.
Yes. Yes, laughter is joy, and laughter is it's such a good reset. Somebody said to me too, like piano keys. If we're all like piano keys, there's no bad keys. It's just a different note. And I like that. And I'm like, if you just see people as we're different.
And if you're going to play, and maybe when you talk to someone, that person always plays the baritone, dum, dum, dum.
Right. And do you know when we put things into categories of good and bad, it creates duality in us. Mm-hmm. And that determines how we feel. And so if you don't look at it from good and bad, it's just a fact or feeling or like whatever it is, redefine the word. It doesn't have to be good or bad. What's the best choice? Number one or number two? So creating that, because negative emotions don't allow for healing. Mm-hmm. And it does not allow for forward progress, in my opinion.
We were talking a little bit about money. And I was looking at advice as age-old adages. So a penny saved is a penny earned, right? A lot of business people, I think of myself, a lot of business people, me, think that the only way is more money. Bigger, more money, more income, which, yes, there's that element. But every market doesn't provide the opportunity for more. Sometimes the market's constricting, and if you're going more when everything else is pulling back, that's maybe not the best move. Maybe you constrict as well. Is there a way I can save a penny? Mm-hmm. Is there a way I can reduce my expenses? Is there a way to reduce what I'm required to output so that if I am not making more money, it doesn't devastate my business? And also, I have resources that I can take advantage of an opportunity that a constricting market operates on.
And I think that, people take... what did I say the other day? If you bought a Starbucks coffee and if you bought a Starbucks coffee every day, for however much it is, you spend almost like $300 or $400 just in one cup of coffee a day.
Well, actually, it's thousands.
Yes, I think it was. I can't remember what it was. It was.
I love this breakfast place called Cracked. It's in Salem, New Hampshire. There's some in Andover, but they have this coffee. So 24-ounce iced coffee is $6.25.
So if
I had one every day, how much money is that?
Well, so if you spent $8 every single day, it's not a big deal. You've end up spending $2,920 in a year.
And you can make that at home.
Yes,
you can make really good coffee at home.
Yes.
Not that I want every coffee shop to go out of business, but my Cracked is a treat because if I spent $6 a day, if you have a smoking habit, how much are cigarettes? $10 a day?
$10 a pack. There's 20.
If you have a 1 pack a day habit, which my parents each had a pack a day habit, is that possible?
So it's $20. Say $20 a day or $20 a week.
So so my parents each smoked a pack of cigarettes. So that would be like $7,200. That's a vacation. That's
Right.
2 vacations.
Right. But so you can make minor shifts. You can make minor shifts, and you don't have to feel the pinch, and you don't have to go, hey, I'm not using this. And do you know how much money is out there in going gym memberships, car washes, like prescriptions that you go for, the Dollar Shave Club, and how it's so hard to get out of those contracts, and you don't see it because it's out of sight, out of mind. And how many people
automatically deducting from a credit card,
right? A credit card or your account, and you don't watch your account. You should always know. I don't care if you're in business for yourself. You should always know your numbers. If you're in business for yourself or you're running a household, you should always know your numbers. You should know where your money is. And it's just such a simple.
Do you think people don't know where their money is because they feel bad about the numbers and they would have to take action?
Well, a lot of times we don't want to go in to look at our bank account because we don't like to see the numbers that we see, or it stresses us out. But instead of coming, like I said, I don't like the punishment thing. How can I simplify my life by doing this? We did a budget, and then you can cut out. There's so many different things that you can cut out. Okay, well, I don't really need to buy an outfit at, Macy's or Neiman Marcus or wherever. I don't really need those things. Instead, I'm going to save for that. I'm going to budget for it. And people think that budgets are so hard. It's just say, hey, I'm going to make a commitment to myself to say, I'm going to stop eating lunch out.
You can make it as a game, too.
Yes.
You can make it as a game to say, what would I do? How much money would I save? And instead of and you could do it in cash, because I always think cash is I was always very rewarded by cash.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of me with my great-grandmother, and she gave me a 20, which back in the day, right, 1972, that was a lot of money to give a 1-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted all of her change.
Yes.
Because there was so many of it.
Yes.
Right? There was, even 1 year old, I'm holding a 20 in my hand and I'm reaching for all of the other money. But I've always been motivated by cash. I used to cash checks and having cash, because there was something satisfying about having it,
about
counting
that
it.
Yes.
I loved being a cashier. I worked at an ice cream store. I loved closing down because I loved counting all of the money. I loved putting it all in the same direction. I love putting bands on things. I never worked at a bank, but that would have been a good thing for me. I loved working. I love handling money. So how exciting would it be if I said, I'm going to really... How much money do I normally spend on a credit card? I take that in cash, and every time I don't spend it, I put it in a separate jar and see how much is in there.
Mm.
There's different ways to try to play it and make it as a game.
Yes.
And I think of how much money, how expensive life is to take your kid to do anything. Buy candy at a store, do whatever. If you taught them, take this money and put it in a jar, we're going to save it and do something.
It's $50 just to go to Five Guys for 3 people. And that's not even getting a shake.
And that's not even, there's better restaurants than Five Guys.
Dessert. Right. But I'm just saying, for a fast food quick meal, you can't go and feed a family of 4 or 5. Well, I don't know. But based upon prices, McDonald's, you can't get in there. You could go and treat your family for like $20. No, you can't go. You can't feed your family, for a treat. So going into a restaurant. So when I was a single mom, and my finances were very limited, and I wanted to go out and do things with them and experiences. And a lot of times we didn't go to nice restaurants because I couldn't afford to go to restaurants. So we would make and go to a fast food restaurant or do something and make an experience. They're little, so they loved their restaurant. But even now, like even when my kids were little, it could be $15 or $12 for the three of us to eat. And we picked up three large fries at McDonald's, and it was like $25 for 3 French fries. Like, that's ridiculous.
And they better not be cold fries.
Right.
I like hot McDonald's fries.
Hot. So one of the things
I like everything hot.
Hot. So one of the things hot, mama.
I want to be hot. I want everything to be hot.
Hot? Give it to me now. One of the things I told my kids when they were growing up, I said, everybody is going to give you advice. Everybody's going to give you their opinion. We can't help it. That's just what we do. We think we know better. We're smarter, whatever. We think that
we love solving other people's problems. Yes, we do not like solving our own.
Big people, we love to give advice because we like to come from an authority. I don't even know why we do it.
And we stand in our Superman position when we give advice.
Well, so a lot of times when my kids were little and they have all these, when they were fussy or in a bad mood or cranky, in our backyard, it gently sloped downhill. And there was one little section that was like the woods kind of went out to, and it was landscaped. So it made like this little peninsula thing. And on that peninsula was this big, big white birch tree. And it was the only birch tree that you could see when you looked down through the yard. So we're sitting at the table in the morning or wherever we're sitting at the table. And I just looked up and I was like, oh, I can't. I'm starting to get into this fussy energy that they're in. And I said, hey, take all that bad juju, or I don't know what the words I said, take all that bad energy that you've got, cough it out. So, they're like 4 and they're like,
having
very
a great
dramatically
time.
Trying to like cough it out into their hand. And I said, so now once you got it in your hand, you take that and you throw it as hard as you can at the birch tree, at the white tree. So there were times when growing up when we lived in that house, the kids would just walk by and they would throw something at the birch tree. But I said to them, I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I think that's one of the things I think I've been in flow longer because I've used it, and I just used it recently with them. I said, everybody's going to give you advice. Everybody's going to give you their opinion. Don't hold on to it. And I said, if there's anything that I've said or if they've said that resonates, pick it up. If it doesn't, lay it down. Leave it where it is. And I've kept saying that over and over and over again. Hey, if there's any good pieces in there, just take it. It doesn't matter, because the people will go on and on and on. Like, dude, I did not give you an open door for you to talk at me for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. There is nothing that drives a vagina up faster than anything longer than a paragraph. So, dude, keep it under a paragraph.
We do not want dry vaginas.
Right. No dry vaginas, and throw it at the white tree. So get rid of all your blah, blah, blah. I'm so glad that Lisa did not have coffee in her mouth because she probably would have spit it out.
I'm crying and have to pee.
I heard that the other day, and I thought that was funny. I was like, I'm going to use that.
Oh, my God.
So now your response to people. See, I've given you a tool today. And a tip for guys.
Oh, my God.
Hey, if you don't want a dry vagina, keep it under a paragraph.
And not a really long paragraph at the beginning and the middle.
Right, because as women, we are the advice, we are the advice experts. I say that sarcastically.
Right. In quotey fingers, experts.
Right.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Yes, that's a T-shirt right there.
Yeah. Don't dry my vagina. Keep it short.
It's getting a little dry in here. That will be our new...
That'll be our code.
Yes.
Our code.
Yes. So that goes all down the trail of like negative thinking.
And advice.
Yes.
And advice.
Well, but people, how many times have we walked away from somebody's advice and feeling like crap?
Yeah, in my head, I wonder how much of it I actually just block out at the time that it's happening.
It's true. Well, so that's why I was like leaving it at the tree.
Yeah.
Take the things that resonate. And that's my way of saying to the kids, don't attach to any of that stuff because people are always going to.
So I have a question for you.
Enforce. What?
Does minding our own business. I remember in school, all we ever heard, teachers just walked around all day going, eyes on your own paper, mind your own business. And then you'd say, but so-and-so's doing,
right.
Tattletale. Don't mind your own business.
I actually think that that's one of the phrases.
I don't think we do that enough.
Right. I think that's one of the phrases that we laid down in our society that I think that we need to
pick up.
We need to pick it back up again. And actually, it's not being rude. It's actually just saying, hey, stay in your own. Well, we do say it, stay in your own lane.
Yes. But how do we do that when I go on this little handy device and I'm all upside people's business? I am up in their business.
Up in a business.
I'm up in it. I'm seeing what they're doing, who they're doing with it, how often they're doing it. This is we are not minding our own business.
Right.
There is a whole attention economy built on us not minding our own business. And so how do you mind your own business? How do you, hey, I have to go to work today. I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I get online and so-and-so's in Aruba again.
I think, because we don't celebrate people. We always, we look at somebody else's wins and we stack it against our lack.
Or I'm always posting fun when I'm doing so much work.
Right.
I'm cleaning my house right now.
Right. Well, you can make shifts to do fun stuff too, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's your mindset, and I think once you realize that, that's so much more freeing. And I'm actually at a place, there are times.
Ooh, maybe we should come up with a list of 10 things that are free, that are fun. Or close to free.
A date night at your house with your spouse, a music dance party, going on a picnic. Last Sunday, it was beautiful. We had that crappy Saturday, and I just said to Chris, today's a good day. Sunday was a good day just to get in the car, put on your favorite music, and I just thought, man, it would be so nice just to go up and see the coast because I think the ocean is grounding. It's powerful. It's calming. It's majestical. It's just a good... to me, it's a good vibration, good energy lifter. And I thought, just a perfect day. Just the two of us, not really doing anything, but just going to see some beautiful landscape. Maybe
and change of scenery.
Yeah, a change of
scenery allows change of perspective easier.
Going for a hike.
Going for a walk.
Or breaking into your neighbor's house could be a good thing.
No. That bail
I'm just
money.
kidding.
You have
Right.
bail money.
Bail
Do you have
money.
bail money for that?
Bail money.
It's not going to be free. It's bail money.
free.
It's a lawyers. It's court costs.
Well, you could go even I know people decluttering your house or reorganizing or just rearranging space, painting. It does cost money to repaint your living room.
Are you painting your living room again?
I don't want to paint the living room. I want to paint the TV room.
Okay.
It's just I was forced quickly to make a decision. In my vision for that room, it didn't come together. And then once you actually put it on the wall was like a orangey brown color. And so all my paint samples were picking up that in the background, and I couldn't pick a good color for it. Now I'm like, nobody goes in that room because
they don't feel it.
It's just, it has no personality. It has no life of its own. It has no feeling of its own.
So is that going to be your next quarter is making that space better?
Yes.
What are you thinking for colors?
Well, I want the dark hardwood floors, and it's got the leather couches in there that's beautiful. I would like to do a white-ish kind of a fur rug because I think the leather and I want it to be kind of Yellowstone-ish, kind of cabiny.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's got the rock
So
fire.
you need stone, leather,
So what I think
wood. You need all of the different elements to kind of circle back around.
So I said to Chris, it's hard to describe to me. I feel things or I see it in my mind, but putting it into words. I think about vanilla and whiskey.
Yes.
I think about things like that.
We should do a mood board for your room.
I'd say I like that. So I like the rustic feel. It has the stone in there, and I think with the dark hardwood floors in the leather couch, like I want it to be kind of. Log cabin is the wrong word. I want it to be rustic, but I want it to be a cigar, and whiskey kind of feel.
Yes.
Like Chris was saying, like got into a conversation one night about how I see people's energies, and I see him as a cigar and whiskey. He puts off a cigar and whiskey kind of feel, masculine, and there's something seductive.
Smooth.
Yes.
Smooth.
I forgot who. Oh gosh, I can't do the other one yet because it just had a brain fart about the other ones.
And I would say my sexy spouse is horsepower, strong, fast, adventuresome. He has a lot of.
So Mustang comes into mind.
Yeah,
like a stallion.
Yeah, horse. Yeah. Very much that.
Not really like the
Strong,
car, because
yes.
not the car, but like a stallion, a Mustang, or a.
Yeah, because I even like the horse analogy because I always look at a horse and go 1 horsepower. I think of when we think of horsepower for engines and all of that, just unadulterated horsepower.
Yes.
And if you've ever ridden on a horse, you're like, this thing is fast and strong and powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that we should, like, if
and what is yours? What do you consider your energy?
Tinkerbell. Not Tinkerbell, really. Actually, well, Tinkerbell, because she has got an attitude. But I see, I don't know, really. I haven't thought about.
Bubbles and lace.
Bubbles and lace.
I think of like beautiful diamondy jewelry and
I got it. I held up a sign when we were down at the beach. Whiskey in a teacup.
I like that. What's mine?
God, champagne and sunshine.
Oh, I like that.
I would see that as champagne and sunshine.
Just what is your mood?
Yes.
You should tell us what your mood is.
What is your energy? If you stop and think about if I were an object, or what would you show up as?
Yeah, what's your mood board? What's your personality mood board?
I like that.
Yeah, because I said we're going to start doing mood boards in April where I'm going to post 10 or 12 pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and that's my mood for the month. It's my mood board for the month. And it could have pictures of anything. It's whatever you're trying to create. Like if we were going to do a magazine, what would that month's magazine be? And I've already started greens and pinks.
I like navy blue and pink together too. Like pink is in my thing. I've bought 3 pink things.
I feel like I have
recently
pink now. I'm like, I gotta go with that.
So I think we're getting ready to wrap up, but I think that for like one of our takeaways is for if you are receiving advice, think about it as a scratching post, doing it as your muscle test. Which pieces of advice do I lean into and which ones do I lean away from?
I would also throw this out there. Is when you're thinking, do I need advice? I would like to solicit advice. Is it because all the voices in your head are drowning out your own voice?
Yes.
Pause. Are you hearing, is your idea coming from within? Is it coming from social media? Is it coming from television? Is it coming, where is all of the input coming from? And do I really believe that? Is a good question. Do I really think that?
I think a lot of times we ask advice is because we're not certain of our own opinion. And I think that if we pause and we think about, I'm asking this person, knowing I'm going in asking this person, I'm just looking for feedback. I'm actually looking for confirmation to find the answer within myself. And if you know that going in, then it helps you not attach to the other person. And I think that my advice to people that are giving advice is to say, I'm just providing options. I'm not attached, because the truth of the matter, at the end of the day, they don't have to live your life and they're not attached to your outcome. So I don't understand why they're getting so upset when you don't follow their advice. But just think about is that you are guidance, that you're just putting suggestions or you're offering your feedback to someone and stop attaching to someone else's outcome of it. One of the things, how it goes back is one of the things that people for advice takers and advice receivers People fall in love with people who gracefully accept themselves. Fall in love with, and so the effects that we love, that we receive, or confidence, everything comes from the inside out. I forgot how I was saying that.
But accepting yourself means that you accept your flaws, but you also accept what's good about you.
Right. We don't accept what's good about us. We are a society that sees the negative first. And it's such an easy question, and you're like, well, you're wrong. So where do you want to go to eat? The number one question that causes a lot of arguments.
What do you want to watch?
I don't know. Well, do you want to go here? No. Do you want to go there? I don't want Mexican. I don't want Chinese. I don't want to do this. We are so quick to tell everybody what we don't want. It's because we're programmed for the negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
Jordan Peterson says it too. And we don't focus on the thing. And that's what Chris does in Iconic. When he asks the people, what do you want? We go down through a whole list of what we don't want. It's so easy. So start focusing on, raise your vibration by loving yourself and focusing on what you want. Now go get it.
Have a wonderful week. Next week, we will have a pre-recorded show for you, so we might not. Will we be live Facebook? We will, because we can repost it from Friday.
Yes, we can.
So we will see you next Thursday. Same space, same time, same channel. Have a great week, everyone.
WSMN 1590. WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.
USA News Update. 4 people are dead, 5 others injured after a stabbing spree in Illinois. Police say there were violent attacks at multiple scenes around the